George, how are you? Happy New Year.
I'm fine, thank you. Happy New Year.
Okay. So I'm not gonna push anyone to do anything, but say like people may have excuses. I can't do this, can't do that. But I'm just gonna give you an assignment based on what we'll be doing. Yeah, or ask you to do something based on what we'll be doing. Excuse me. So if you can see my screen, I'm sharing the Quantum GIS software interface. Okay. So these are projects that I've been working on. Okay, I've created a study. It can make a map. It can do things that are not map related. It can do a whole lot. Okay, so most of the things that we talked about in class, you can implement it through the software. It's just like any software, you know, there's always some kind of file or project menu that allows you to save as a project file. And then you have an edit menu, okay, that allows you to do some copy paste, things like that. Undo, redo, view. From the view menu, you can actually show some panels. So, for example, one of the most important panels in QGIS is actually the layers panel on the left-hand side. Excuse me. So you can see that I have this area here is actually the layers panel. Okay, and then the maps appear in this area. Excuse me. Up here we have the toolbar, which means that you can access everything here. Okay, from actually the layer menu. So instead of you going here to start something, a process, you could actually go straight and click a button, and it's like a shortcut. Okay. Yeah, we have a settings menu, which we may not need to for now. The layers menu, you know, the concept of layers is always, this is what kind of handles that. So we can create a new layer. So in class, in the theoretical sense, we talk about stacks of layers, and then I'll draw one rectangle and draw another one. So this is what does it. I mean, you will experience the layers panel. All layers created will appear in the layers panel down here. Okay, and we have plugins. So the Quantum GIS software is actually open source, and anybody can actually write their own plugins. Of course, it has to go through a review and get accepted. But the plugins are like extra functionality that you can add to the software. So you can create your own thing, okay, and then add it to the software. Normally we use the Python programming language to accomplish that. We have the vector menu. So you can imagine what a vector menu is. Look at the raster menu on there. So vector raster, it's no coincidence that you have a whole menu dedicated to that, because in GIS, like we said, the vector is the points, lines, and polygons. The raster is just the pixels using images to represent the real world. So I think it's in order that we have a whole menu dedicated to it to do specific things, because the two don't mix, okay? Points, lines, polygons, they don't mix, all right? This is the latest plugin I downloaded. It's called the Minkowski Dimension Calculator, which calculates something called fractal dimension, but we're not talking about that in this class. Don't worry about it. But everything here is dealing with a point, line, or polygon. For example, we see the buffer equation. It's possible to do intersect, overlay, and things like that over here. In the geoprocessing tool, we have geometry tools. You can do centroids of polygons and things like that. You can convert lines to polygons. There's a whole lot you can do. Analysis, you can do nearest neighbor analysis. We're not talking about that in this class. So research tools allow you to create a grid, create a set of random points on Nigella. You can do things that you just want to if you can imagine something, then you can almost implement it under the research tools in the vector menu. Are you okay? So you can also do a whole lot of joining data. Raster menu is also dealing with just today with our first tutorial, we're going to make use of the georeferencer, which is actually in the raster menu. And the raster menu contains the georeferencer plugin. Okay, so if you don't have the georeferencer plugin, then you can actually add it in by just going to plugins, manage plugins, and then you just add it on. So it's going to be the first thing that we'll do. So I'll come back to it. There's a database menu and then other menus. Let me just say that because I've just added these in. Okay, we have the processing toolbox. Very good. It's also a very good one. So I'm assuming most of you have. You may not have XCP because it's specific to something that I'm doing. There's a help menu where you get the help in anything that you want to do using the software. Okay. All right. So that said, we want to start. Excuse me. And I'm going to put the instructions in the chart area. Excuse me. I have a dry throat. Yeah, maybe I have to put on the fan. Let me just lower it. It's a bit too much. Okay, I think the fan was not only making noise, but also making my throat dry. Okay. So, like I said, all instructions go in the chat area. So the first instruction is that you actually start your computer, boot your computer. I'm sure someone is wondering why. So that takes a while for some computers. Remember, we learned about hardware. So if your computer has a certain specs, it takes a longer time for you to do it. That's why starting the computer is an important step. Okay, when you start a server computer, it's not like starting your own laptop or a tablet. It takes a while for a server computer to start. It doesn't mean it's not a good computer. So starting the computer is the first step. Having done that, you want to start a software, open QGIS desktop. So you go to your start menu and you type yeah, I'm sure you couldn't hear me, but I was saying that the telecommunication networks are getting on my nerves and I hate it. But let's all keep focused, all right? This is an unnecessary distraction from the telecommunication networks. We hit them, yeah? All right, so let me go to chat area again. I hope what I wrote is not gone. Okay, still there. Start computer, step 2. Go to start menu and search for QGIS desktop. There's a reason why I'm asking you to look for QGIS desktop, because there are other versions of it. There's QGIS browser and all that. Okay. So QGIS desktop, for me, I have 3.22. Okay, so I have version 3.22. And so depending on the version you have, but I ask you to download the latest version. So I believe you all have the latest version of the software. Okay. So do that. Make sure you started the software. Okay. and then we move on from there. So I'm going to share my whiteboard. You see what I have. This is what I just did. Went to the menu, type QGIS, got QGIS desktop 3.22, which is the latest version of the software. Okay, all right. So having done that, we want to go back to, go to the plugins menu and then type manage and install plugins. So plugins menu, step 3, plugins menu. Click on that. And then manage plugins or install plugins. I mean, any of them work. So we just go there. A dialog box to open. In the dialog box, you see a search box. So dialog box, look for a search box. Okay, and then type in georeferencer. Okay, you may not even get it like that. Let's see. Freehand raster georeferencer may not be what you're looking for, because that's not exactly. We want the georeferencer and the raster menu. Okay, so just look for, because for me, I don't get it coming through, but in my raster menu. So first go to your raster menu and look for georeferencer. Okay, so go to the raster menu. Yes.
So the one that you gave to us was QGIS 3.16.4.
Okay, it should work. So just use that.
Okay.
Step 3B. Go to raster menu. And then look for georeferencer. Okay, so this is step 3B. We are assuming that we're ignoring step 3A. Okay. And so anyone that's having a problem with getting the georeferencer should let me know. In the next 10 seconds, if you can't see georeferencer, plug it. Just tell me. But if you can see it, you can just, it will open a dialog box. You don't have to say anything. Okay, so if you've done that, just leave it there. Let's go look for the image that I sent you. So you can go to your WhatsApp and open your WhatsApp, desktop WhatsApp or anything. Or by now you've downloaded it into your computer, so you should have an image, but I want us to identify the image first. So where is my, let me just go to my WhatsApp page and get it. What is georeferencing? Georeferencing is associating a set of coordinates with an image. Basically, that is that, so that there is actually a certain coordinate system that can be, you know, attributed or matched with the image. Okay, so georeferencing is just, it's English language. Okay, it's English language. So we want to give it a reference geographically. So the image itself is just an image, it's a picture somewhere on the ground. But what we want to do is that we want to tell the computer exactly where this image is. That's all. Okay. So for me, I've gone to WhatsApp. I'm downloading that image as JPEG into my downloads folder. It's okay. So I can give you a screenshot on my whiteboard. I don't know if I'm still sharing my whiteboard. This is what I'm doing right now. So I don't know if I'm sharing QGIS. I'm sharing. Okay, so I'm sharing my whiteboard. Yes. Okay. So yeah, you can see that this is what I'm doing right now. Downloaded the image, which is actually, what kind of image is it? The image is actually a map, a scanned map, okay? So there are instances where you are doing the project and you require some data that already exists. And the data you have may be in the form of an old map because the world is, there's nothing new under the sun. You get what I'm saying? So you always need some existing maps. Let's talk about water distribution. You go to Ghana water and sewage, what it used to be. If you really want to revamp the whole system, you need some old maps to show you the network of pipes that have been laid. So such data may not be, related. It may not be digital or have any coordinates associated with that, even though there are coordinates written on it. How do we bring it into a form that a computer can really, the software, we can analyze it from a GIS point of view? So we need to get that data first in a digital format, like what we are looking at. It's just probably a page from a report. Okay, a map has a hard copy map that has been scanned. This could be what we are looking at. And so now I'm downloading it and I'm getting it into a folder. Normally it's good to create one folder. So the instruction now, when I go to WhatsApp, then you see people say hello, hello, and all that. Let me save it quite quick. Okay, so, and get out of WhatsApp. Too much distraction. Okay. So create a folder in, say, documents and call it GIS tutorial. GIS tutorials. And then go, okay, so we said go to raster menu, georeference, I'll open it up. Okay, step 4, download digital version of a map of West Africa. I'm using this as to teach you the principle of georeference. It means you could do it for a smaller area. This is for West Africa. Don't worry about it. It's about understanding what we are doing. Okay, so download it. Step 5, create a folder in documents. I'll call it GIS tutorial. Okay, can create subfolders. Store your data. And create subfolder called data. To hold your data set, to hold data. Store data, doesn't matter. Okay, so you have your data in the place that you know. Okay, so we want to georeference this. Okay, so how do we do that? We have the georeferencer open in QGIS. So we can go back to QGIS. And we have the georeferencer. Okay, so I hope you can see my georeferencer. I believe you can see that. Okay, the next thing is to bring the image into it. But I think we should study it, but we're going to study it right here. Let's add the image. So we go to open raster. So in georeferencer, click on file, open raster. Step 6, back, QGIS, referencer. Type file, in raster. Okay, and then browse for the image you just downloaded and saved. You just downloaded and saved the folder. Browse and locate image of West Africa. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Open raster, and if I go to, okay, I already have this one here. Okay, desktop. Okay, so I shouldn't forget. Okay, wait. Okay, nice one. Wait. Same image. I think I already have it folder on the desktop, right? So we are going to look at this. It's a map, but really it's a picture. That's why I could send it to you through WhatsApp. It's actually an image. It's like it's a photograph. Are you okay? And so that is why it's just like me taking a picture and sending it to you on WhatsApp. That is what we've experienced. Are you okay? All right. So now we are going to learn how 3 tools work. So we are going to for lack of a better word, we're going to experiment with zoom in, zoom out, pan, zoom to last. These are different tools. Okay. These are different tools that allow us to interact with the map. Pan. Okay, so we are going to experiment with it. They are actually the tools that you see, there are shortcuts to them. Okay, but you can access them through the view menu. So through the view menu, you can access them through the view menu. All right. So simply click on zoom in and click on the image. You can see that it expands. Okay, the image gets pixelated. Okay, and if you keep clicking it, then everything disappears and you have some kind of gray view. Okay, it's a gray view that you get. Now you can click on the zoom out, keep clicking on it, keep clicking on it. Okay, click on the zoom out and then keep clicking on it, and then it kind of shrinks back to the original size that you had. Then you want to experiment with the zoom last. Immediately you click on zoom last, you see that the zoom next becomes active. Okay, so we also have, so you can do zoom last. Okay, that is the previous zoom. In fact, what is zoom? To zoom is to enlarge or to reduce. Are you okay? So it's got something to do with scale. So take note of that. But obviously, it means to enlarge or to reduce in size. All right, so now try experiment with the zoom last and the zoom next, and you realize that they allow you to look at the image that you are looking at again and again in different forms so that you don't lose it, because it can literally disappear off your screen. Let's try the pan tool. So the pan tool.
Sir,
yes.
So what about the zoom to layer?
Okay, so we are coming to that. So try the pan. Try the pan tool. It allows you to just pan or to slide it, to shift the image without enlarging it or reducing it in terms of scale. Okay, so that's very interesting. All right, so what we're doing now is that we're just moving around So if you move it down here, and you say zoom to previous, you can see that it brings it back to all the possible views that we have done. Okay, it's kind of keeping a history of where your image was. Now zoom to layer, as someone hurriedly, he didn't have patience. No, not that he didn't have patience, but it's good that you're asking. We click that and then it brings us to the full view of the layer. So zoom to layer, it tells us something. It means we've just brought in an image, but the word layer is being used. We are looking at the whole image as if it's a layer. Now remember the concept of layers. It's about representing a certain theme, all right, data theme in our GIS environment. Representing a certain theme in our GIS environment. Okay, so you should get to know how these things work by yourself because you will need it. You will need it. When would we need it? We are going to be needing it right now, very soon, when we actually try to zoom to a particular point of interest. Okay, so here we may be interested in this particular coordinate. So I have zoomed to it. Let me do it again. I did a zoom in by clicking and dragging it and defining a rectangle, then releasing it. And that took me to that particular rectangle as a full view. Let me go back and I'll do a different example. I'll zoom to layer and then I want to look at Burkina Faso alone. So I want to zoom to Burkina Faso. That could be a particular place. Don't think we are thinking in that scale. We don't have to think at such a small scale, but let's assume we're interested in a particular feature or object. We simply define a rectangle and then it zooms there, okay? So if you're interested in the F, we just do this. See, it zooms to the F, and we can go back, or just zoom to layer and get a full view. Okay, all right, so what we do from here? Having experimented with this, we want to write down a set of coordinates. Okay, so this is where we are. That we are going to tell the computer, and that this is where the whole magic works. This is how the whole trick works. We want to tell the computer that when you see this particular point, this is the coordinate, that the computer is going to know it and keep it in mind. Okay, why? Because we may want to bring in some other works that a surveyor, some engineers have done, or a surveyor engineer has done, and want to bring it and reconcile it with it so that we know if the project is at the right location, things like that. Okay, so to do that, we are going to actually look for intersections. We are going to look for intersections of longitudes and latitudes. So use your tools, zoom tools, I call them zoom tools, including the pan tool, to identify the intersection of longitudes, which are actually X coordinates, and latitudes, which are actually Y coordinates. Okay, so this is the criteria. The criteria is we want topmost, rightmost, or top right. I think top right is the same thing, isn't it? Top right. Okay, yeah. So let's not do topmost, rightmost. Top right intersection. Okay. We want bottom right intersection coordinates. We want top, bottom. Mute yourself, mute yourself, mute yourself. Intersection. Mute your mic and switch it only when you need to talk. Intersection, especially if there's noise where you are. Bottom right intersection. We have bottom left, okay. section. Okay, please mute your mic if you don't need to say anything, especially if there's noise where you are. Christopher, -5 marks for doing that. Anyway, so here we are. So take a pen and paper, and then you're going to do something like this. This is actually the leftmost longitude. This is the topmost latitude, and you need this intersection here, the coordinate of this intersection. Okay, so if you really wanted to get a bang on extremely precise, you could just look for the middle of these two lines, but you don't have to be that accurate for this project. Is okay. So I'm going to take a pen and paper and I'm going to write the coordinates down. So you should be able to now understand the coordinates. So write this down. Okay, I get a notepad and then, excuse me, this is top left coordinate. So X is going to be west, 10 degrees west is actually -10 degrees. So -10, comma. So I'll share my notepad with you shortly. 25 degrees north, it's going to be just +25. So my top left coordinate is what I'm going to show to you now on my notepad. So these are my coordinates for my top left. Okay, great. So I'm going to do the same for top right. What are my top right coordinates? Okay, so I go back to my QGIS georeferencer. And in order to appreciate more, I just zoom to layer. Then I zoom to top right, okay, by defining a rectangle. And I know this is the intersection of interest, top right, okay? What are my coordinates? It's actually +10 as an X, and then Y is a latitude, so +10, 25. I go to my notepad, and I just put 10, 25. Then I go back to the zoom to layer again. Then I'm going to zoom to the bottom left coordinate, which is actually this one. I'm going to pan it a little bit to the left so that I can see it well. All right, so here I have my X coordinate is -10, and then my Y coordinate is 0. So if you don't appreciate it, you can ask a question, but I'll just keep going like this. Okay, so bottom left.
What is that?
Yes.
Why the -10? I don't understand that.
Okay, so the -10 is because of the west. You see west, 10 degrees west. You see the 10 degrees west?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so 10 degrees west is actually negative. So if you look at the cardinal points, let me shift this. You have north, okay, east, West Africa is here. Always look at it that way. South, north is on top. Is that okay? And so this cardinal points define some sort of coordinate system. Okay. So in that coordinate system, the origin is actually the Greenwich meridian. That's why we had that lecture. Okay. So we're not joking. Are you okay? It wasn't some kind of comedy. You understand what I'm saying? So the Greenwich meridian is 0. To the left of the Greenwich meridian, you have negative. To the right of it, you have positive. So Ghana, for example, is the Greenwich is going through the country. So part of the country is literally negative. Part of it is positive in terms of coordinates. All right. So if you look at it, 360 degrees, if you start from the 0, then you are going to have 0 going all the way to 180 at the back of the earth and coming back to 360. 360 degrees. Okay. So if someone gives you a coordinate, all right, and the coordinate is say 25 degrees, 10 minutes, 2 seconds, then what a person, and he puts north, straight away it tells you whether it's Y or X. That's very important. Every student should know what this coordinate means. What this coordinate is saying that you are 25 degrees away radially, angularly. Okay, take an angular distance of 25 degrees. So the angle sustained at the center of the earth from where you are to the equator is 25 degrees. Okay, and you are at the northern hemisphere. So I think this is something we dealt with in theory. In practice, what you are seeing in class is that we have a map and we have some, is it 25 degrees, 0 minutes, and then 0 seconds. Okay, and then I am saying that this is actually the equivalent of just saying negative 25. So this is degrees. Okay, this is degrees. This is degrees. This is actually degrees, minutes, seconds. Just like saying 25.5 meters or saying 25 meters, 50 centimeters. You see that they're the same thing, right? Please, you ask the question, you have to flow with me. Are you okay with what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Great. So you can sit down after this class if you don't